In this video, we're going to talk about the Wakanda affiliation and why and how they are absolutely dominating the MCP scene during 2024. Hey guys, Rich from Rich Big Gaming. I hope everyone is doing fantastically well. Welcome to this, another Marvel Crisis Protocol video. I hope everyone is doing fantastically well. And this is a video that I've been thinking about for a little while. I first encountered this only a few weeks ago, maybe a month and a half ago. And it's a very, very interesting tactic that has really caused Wakanda to absolutely shoot to the very, very top of the charts, the statistics. It's easy for you to say. When it comes to MCP during 2024. Now, I do want to preface this video is that this is not, me saying, I hate that there's one affiliation that's so good, yada, yada, yada. I'm fine with different affiliations being able to do different things. You're always going to have top and bottom. You guys know me, I'm a lover of the underdog. Winter Guard were my affiliation of choice for quite some time. But typically what we've seen is, usually a gap of a couple of percent between the very, very best and the very, very worst, So if we take a look, for example, let's just move over to here. These are the results of the whole of 2023. So thousands and thousands of games. And as you can see, 3 affiliations kind of at the very, very top there. Guardians of the Galaxy. Obviously, they had Ghost Rider or Cosmic Ghost Rider, which was helping them, but they were good before then anyway. But 54% win rate. Hellfire Club, we all know how good that is, and the fact that it's never should have been what it is. But again, 54% win rate. Criminal Syndicate, 54% win rate. Shield, even with all the craziness that Shield can do with Nick Fury and Eye in the Sky and everything else, 53% win rate. If we were to look down at the bottom of this chart here, you'd see that the lowest win rate affiliations, other than a couple of very, very, outliers, are going to be kind of the same, but in reverse, so 46% win rates, that sort of thing. But a funny thing has happened since the start of 2024. And I actually just want to call out number 6 there, Wakanda. 52% win rate. So let's take a look at what has happened in 2024, because it's quite surprising to say the least. So there's some different outliers, which is good. Inhumans back up there, which is really nice after all the character changes. Some have dropped off. Guardians of the Galaxy are further down the list now. Nerfs to Ghost Rider, you would expect that. But at the very, very top, we have Wakanda. Now, Hellfire Club is another one that I may do another video on. Convocation are up there, 56%, but only 384 games played. But with Wakanda, we're talking about over 1,000 games played and a 59% win rate. Now, a 59% win rate isn't anything that we haven't seen in this game before. Individual leaders in this game, but not necessarily individual affiliations, but individual leaders have had high win rates in the past. I remember Sam Wilson has been over 60 at one point. We had Nick Fury, who was kind of in the high 50s as well. But this is an affiliation with 4 leaders. So let's break this down and see what the leaders are actually doing, because this is where it gets really, really interesting. So Wakanda overall, 1,058 games, 59% win rate. Original Black Panther, 61%. King T'Challa, the new Black Panther, 60%. M'Baku, 59% win rate, and then Killmonger, Usurper, 50%. So the lowest of them, but a lower number of games, but still 50%, so still holding his own. There isn't a leader or a couple of leaders that are kind of propping it up. They're all doing exceptionally well. Now, if we compare them to a couple of other 4-leader affiliations, let's first of all look at Avengers, who are in 10th place in terms of standings at the moment. This is more what I kind of expect to see when we're looking at affiliations with lots and lots of leaders. So you can see there, Avengers overall, 49%. Now, I always say with Avengers that they have the kind of core box syndrome, if that makes sense. What do I mean by that? Well, they've got first Avenger, Steve Rogers, and then Steve Rogers, Captain America, both at a 48 and a 46% win rate. And what I mean by that core box syndrome is, more often than not, these are going to be two of the first leaders that new players ever play coming into the game. So that means that just kind of by proxy, because they are newer players, they are on average, not always, but on average, not going to win as many games because they don't know how to play the game as good as they potentially could do once they got more games under their belt. So I do think Avengers suffer a little bit from that. And then Hulkbuster, I mean, poor guy, 23 games, 43%. But again, Sam Wilson at 57%, but then the rest of the affiliation, kind of dragging it down a little bit. And that to me says that actually this is quite healthy. You've got a couple of really good leaders in there at 48%, one leader who isn't particularly great at 43%, but then 57% win rate for Sam Wilson. It kind of tells me that actually the leaderships are not what are broken. It kind of tells me that it's the leaderships that are fine. They're doing that heavy lifting. They're individually good characters, but there's nothing inherently broken with the affiliation as a whole. Yes, people can do better with Sam, but if they play Hulkbuster, they're not going to do quite as well. There's nothing in there that is so game breaking when it comes to, let's say, tactics cards that really causes a problem. I want to take a look at another affiliation. I think these guys do have a tactics card that is very, very impactful on the game. And that is All According to Plan is the tactics card, and it is the Criminal Syndicate. So All According to Plan, what does it do? Well, basically it means that even if you don't have priority, you can have priority in the game. That's just the way that it works. You spend a culminated 10 power in total across all of your Crimson characters, and you can just take priority off your opponent. So you don't have that knock-on effect of losing priority if you daze too many of your opponents. You still get all of the things. And again, 49% win rate, but we see this spread. 52% Shadowlands Daredevil, 51% Kingpin, MODOK 49%, Claw, again, fewer games, but 37%. Kind of says to me that, yes, you've got some different play styles, but even with some really good tactics cards, there's nothing in the affiliation that kind of really breaks it. So how are Wakanda doing so well? Because let's be honest, they're a small affiliation, right? They, up until recently, they had 5 characters. They had Shuri and Okoye. Okoye, got nerfed. OG Black Panther, OG Killmonger, and then Storm from the X-Men. And yes, recently we've had the Warrior Falls bringing 2 new leaders. And then we've also had the Claw and M'Baku pack bringing another leader in the form of M'Baku. So they've got access to 3 more characters, which is great, but those 3 characters are leaders, but also 2 of those characters can't be played alongside 2 of the other characters in the same squad. So what is going on? Are these new leaders so exceptionally good that they're just absolutely flying away in the game? Well, no, that is not the case. The problem with Wakanda at the moment, problem I suppose very much dependent on which side of the fence you sit on, is the combination of two tactics cards, and that is Spirit of Wakanda and Advanced R&D. Now, I've touched on this in my channel or on my channel previously, but Advanced R&D, we all know what it does. During your activation, you may spend up to 5 power and give up to 5 other characters 1 power each. So if you've got 5 power, you can spend all 5 and give your other teammates a power each. Or if you've got 1 power, you can give one other person a power. Spirit of Wakanda lets a Wakanda character spend 2 power. And when they do, they can choose one of the following effects. They can remove 2 damage from everyone within range 2 and themselves. They can remove all special conditions from everybody within range 2 and themselves. Or they can give other characters within range 2 power. I'm going to jump over really quickly, guys, and I'm going to show you on TTS exactly how this looks and sort of take you through the steps. Okay then, guys, so here we are. We've got some Wakandan characters to take a look at. The characters are almost irrelevant, but the two that you generally want to be starting this trigger off with are going to be Okoye and Shuri, but it's completely interchangeable. So let's have a look at deployment first of all. So you can see we have got our characters in a nice little clump here. And then we have got our Spirit of Wakanda card. And then we have got Advanced R&D. So let's say that we are the first player. Again, it really doesn't matter whether we are or not. So the first thing that we are going to do is we're going to activate, let's say we're going to activate Okoye. So we're going to go over the Okoye first. So Okoye is going to spend 1 power for Advanced R&D. That means I can now give a power to another character. Well, that's fine. I'm going to give a power to Shuri. That's very nice, isn't it? So we've used this card now. Let's put it here. I am then going to play Spirit of Wakanda. Now, why can I play Spirit of Wakanda? Well, you go, well, Rich, you've got no power left on Okoye. Spirit of Wakanda doesn't require it to be the active character. So really, really important. It doesn't require them to be the active character. So I can spend 2 power on Shuri. And now with that 2 power, I can give every other character within range 2 more power. Now I only have 3 characters here. I'm only at 13 threat. But all of a sudden, my entire team, with the exception of Okoye, because she's the one that we started with and used for Advanced R&D, is starting on 3 power minimum. Now, what does that mean and what actual impact does that have on the game itself? Because you might be thinking, Rich, well, 2 power, that's, it's fine, but it's a one-off thing. Let's take a quick look and see how this escalates and the advantage that it gives different characters. And let's start off by taking a look at some Wakanda characters. So you can see there, the first thing is we get to turn on Pounce round 1 with T'Challa. That means he can make a long move, a pounce, and then an attack, which is pretty darn brutal. King T'Challa gets his bound turned on. So again, he gets to, he can make a long move up, he could bound, and then he's going to be able to make that vibranium spear, but this time with 8 dice, which again, as you can probably imagine, is pretty brutal to be able to do turn 1. Killmonger, Usurper, again, he gets access to that pounce. So, he can make a medium move, he can make his pounce, and then be in range to use his vibranium weapons. Maybe rather than his covert armament, which, is what he would probably have to do turn 1 if he didn't have the extra power. Original Killmonger, he gets access to his charge, but not also that, he also gets access to his special forces. So if he does whiff on his charge, then guess what, guys? He can turn all of those blocks into successes, which is, again, pretty darn good. And Baku is going to get the strength of the gorilla. Choose an interactive terrain feature of size 3 or less. Throw it medium. This one's less impactful, if I'm being brutally honest. Probably of all the characters in Wakanda outside of Okoye and Shuri. And Baku is the one that benefits the least from it, but everybody else is benefiting from it. And extra power is never a bad thing in this game, guys, especially early doors. Okoye. Okoye is going to be able to turn that bodyguard on round one, which is super, super important for her. And if she's not the character that you choose to actually use the advanced R&D with, she's going to end up with 3 power, meaning that she's probably going to be able to keep that bodyguard on for the entire game until she goes down. And then lastly, Shuri, again, she's not going to be one that's going to benefit hugely from it, because generally you're using Panther Gauntlets, but it would mean that she would get access to more upgrades. And yes, we haven't forgot about Storm. We know she exists. But it does mean that she can turn on her Tempest, which means that she can essentially double move and then throw somebody off a point, or turn on that Eye of the Storm to be able to do even more damage with her attacks. She's not seen a lot within Wakanda, but even so, it would work for her. But guys, it doesn't just stop there. Now, I mentioned that it only needs to be a Wakandan character that spends the power to play the card, but all other characters within range 2 gain 2 power. That includes your unaffiliated splash characters. So let's have a look at a small selection and what impact they could have on the game. Captain America, Sam Wilson, great character. Giving him 2 extra power round 1 does one of 2 things. First of all, he can make a charge. So he's got a long move charge, which is pretty darn good. But where we see the real benefit is in something like Airlift. And there's many other characters that can do this. The new Iceman, plus a couple of others. Airlift. He can pick up a T'Challa or an M'Baku or a Killmonger, meaning that they may not even need to make that first move to get in attack range to be able to do something. Ulik, he starts on 2 power, give him 2 more. Guess what? You're turning on Bad Manners round 1, which is, again, being a Winter Guard player that does this with advanced R&D can be absolutely brutal, but you have to do it, and you're not really benefiting with anything else. There's a cost to it. The opportunity cost for this card for me seems just a little bit too low. We've also got in characters like Lockjaw. Lockjaw generates 3 power of his own. So not only is he going to generate 3 power of his own, when he comes to using advanced R&D, he can actually dish out a total of 4 power. Yes, 4 power. That means that your characters are not starting on 3 power. They're actually starting on 4, which makes it even crazier. Bill starts on 2 power, but he's even in a situation where, because he starts on the 2 power, you can play Eyes on the Prize first. You can then play Advanced R&D. You can then do the shenanigans, give Bill 2 power back, so he's now back where he started. He's already got Eyes on the Prize, so he's actually a power better off. It means that he can walk up, pick an objective within 2, and can probably go and get another one within 2 as well, or come back and interact with an objective. And that's something else that really, really makes a huge difference. Pay to flips can be very, very difficult for, especially if you've got anything that isn't research on the extracts. Now, what is a pay to flip? So some secures need you to just be in the vicinity, so within range 2, to be able to contest them. Others require you to pay power. Now, as a general rule of thumb, most characters in this game generate 1 power turn 1, or the beginning of each turn. That means that turn 1, most of them are on 1 power. That means that if you have got a choice to make between picking up an objective or what we call flipping a point, then that is a decision that you have to make. You have to choose between the two. With this, forget everything else that we just said. All of a sudden, with 3 power, you have the ability to be able to move up, pick up an objective, and then be able to flip an objective as well, essentially turning everyone into Asgardians or X-Men using their tactics card for one round, which again feels just so good and really, I really think it is probably too good. Let's go one step further, guys. You can do a round 1 mass transit with Nightcrawler if you really want, if you really wanted to, which is pretty crazy. I don't know if you ever would do that, but I wanted to share this one as well. So, what can we do? Because I think, as a whole, the community is in agreement that this is a little bit too broken, and the numbers most definitely show that. And it's not like other things in the game that have been broken. Let's take Deception on Mystique, for example. Yes, it was broken, but if you were aware of it, you could tech around it. So you could make sure that you always kept your characters within range 2 of each other. Cosmic Ghost Rider was a problem. But again, there was ways and means of being able to tech around it. You can bring cards like Sacrifice, like Fallback, things like Rhinobery, or whatever. I always forget Rhino's real name of his card, but the one where he steals something off you. There are ways and means to be able to tech around it. Mission Objective not only stops Rhino from being able to steal it, but also because the drop doesn't happen, he then doesn't get the throw. So there's lots of things that are broken in the game that people complain about, but they're just very good. But generally, they're always something that you can tech around and take something. If you know something is very, very prevalent, you can do something about it and you can tech around it. Spirit of Wakanda is reliant on nothing that your opponent does. It just happens. There is nothing your opponent can do to get around this. So, because of that, I think there are a couple of things that AMG could do to get around this. Now, I know that a couple of people, I've heard people say, "Oh, well, you could just get rid of, advanced R&D." I don't think that's a good idea. I think advanced R&D is a great card, and can give you a slight advantage. But by taking advanced R&D, it means you're not taking a Sacrifice, or you're not taking a patch up, or you're not taking a Brace for Impact. I've heard some other people say that, well, we could make Spirit of Wakanda a restricted card like we did with Deception. But I bring it back to the fact that the accessibility of the card isn't the problem. Deception, they changed the accessibility so that the opportunity cost went up, because the only reason you were seeing Mystique spammed everywhere is because she brought that card. The card is still good, but you can still tech around it, but the cost of taking it is higher. I genuinely believe the combination of Spirit of Wakanda and Advanced R&D is so good that even if you made this card restricted, it wouldn't change anything, because your 2 restricted cards as Wakanda would either be, would be Advanced R&D and Spirit. And even if they got rid of Advanced R&D, guess what? You can just bring Wong. Wong does exactly the same thing. It's not quite as effective, and it means you've got to take Wong. But trust me, it is absolutely worth it. So I think there are 2 things that they can do to this card, and I think it maybe needs both, or it maybe needs one of them. First of all, a Wakanda character may spend 2 power to play this card. This should be changed to during its activation. A Wakanda character may spend 2 power to play this card. What does that mean? Well, it means that at the very least, they can't do this during the first turn, because you can't then play advanced R&D and play this card round one. I think that's something that they should absolutely do. So it still doesn't take away any of the potency. You still get to do everything that you do. It just means that you don't get to do it all round one, which then is a bit of a sacrifice, because it means that you're not moving your characters up and you're not having them pick up objectives and things like that. You can play advanced R&D round one and give the power to another Wakandan, and then for your next turn they can spend it. But again, the not necessarily opportunity cost, but it just stops you being able to do everything straight away. Still doesn't mean your opponent can do anything about it, but there are just some cards that you can't do anything about. It just so happens that this one I think is far too good. So that's the first thing. The second thing is all other allied characters within 2 of this gain 2 power. It should 100% be changed to all other allied Wakanda characters within range 2. Don't get me wrong, this would still be very, very good, but it means it stops all of that extra stuff with the Sam Wilsons, with the Lockjaws, with the Bills, that just make this card absolutely ridiculous in my opinion. Now, if I had to pick one of these 2, I would say make it all other allied Wakanda. That would be my, if we could only have one of these. But I actually think both of these is probably necessary to really bring this card in line, because it's just too good. It is just too good. 2 power to generate, let's say on average with Wakanda, you're probably running 5 wide. 2 power to generate 8 power, because you don't get it for yourself, in my opinion, is just too good. But yeah, guys, let me know what you think down in the comments section below. Have you come up against this? What are your thoughts on it? Do you think it should be nerfed? Do you think it's absolutely fine and I'm just, I'm overreacting to something? Yes, there is also Hellfire Club that are up there, and I do think that is probably something that we do a video on. But it's been a while since I've done a video that for MCP, anything other than a character breakdown or an affiliation breakdown with a tier list. So I wanted to do something a little bit different, and this is so prevalent in the community right now that even if nothing else gets done about this card, because I do think as a community we have power. If we talk about things enough and we raise it enough, AMG do listen. I really do believe that. So, if you do think this is too strong, then raise your voice, let it be known. Let me know down in the comment section below. Yeah, we'll see what happens, but it's definitely one that I can see up for some sort of nerf in the coming months, because it is just far too good, to the point now where I actually won't play Wakanda. I just personally don't like it. You guys know me. I've never been a huge, with the exception of Guardians of the Galaxy and Ghost Rider, probably at WTC, only because I couldn't play my Winter Guard. I wasn't allowed. I just don't like this sort of stuff. I think it doesn't make for a good game. I think your opponent looks across at this and just thinks, well, there's absolutely nothing I can do here, and it feels like the game is already lost, because it gives them such an advantage that it almost feels like it's not worth playing. And yes, it's a dice game and you're always reliant on dice, but I think this is just a little bit too broken. Guys, I want to thank you for getting to this part of the video. If you could do the usual stuff, like, share, comment, subscribe, it really does help. And we hit 1 million views, which is crazy, absolutely crazy. We're going to be doing a special video on that, and I'm still in the process of organising my charity event that I spoke about as well, so keep an eye out for that later in the year. If you want to support us even further though, guys, you can do so by joining us on Patreon or becoming a YouTube member. There'll be a link down in the description below for Patreon, and there'll be a button even to join us on YouTube. And then finally, guys, if you want to head over to the Discord, we run all sorts of different MCP events, plus a whole bunch of other stuff as well. There's over 1,000 people on there now. So again, link down in the description below. And as always, guys, it leaves me with just enough time to say stay well, keep safe, and until next time, bye for now.